Welcome to the Great Basin Fire Potential Briefing for Sunday, July 13th. We will continue to have hot and dry conditions across the region through early in the week with minimal lightning activity. There could be a few buildups or isolated strikes in the north going through the next couple of days. However, still generally very low coverage until we get closer to Tuesday, Wednesday, where we could see additional thunderstorms with the trough dropping down from the north. Temperatures will be the hottest, again, going through Monday. We will have some breezy northwest winds as that initial trough drops down in the northwest and northern Rockies on Monday. These winds will be out of the northwest across parts of northern Utah and a little bit breezy. And then we'll see more southerly or southwesterly winds increasing over southern areas of the Great Basin on Tuesday. All will increase fire potential and will continue to have hot, dry, and unstable conditions across the region. Very minimal lightning over the last 24 hours. We did have a few cells pop right along the Sierra front up there north of Lake Tahoe and a couple south of Lake Tahoe as well. Aside from that, no lightning strikes across the region. Yesterday, we had 6 new fires for just over 2 acres reported, but we still had quite a bit of growth on our many large incidents across the Great Basin. And you can see them scattered across southeastern Utah, the Arizona Strip, and then across parts of Nevada and even up into eastern Idaho. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we've only seen precipitation across the north and the far south, otherwise generally very dry conditions with below normal precipitation. Looking at our ERC percentile map, you can see ERCs are above the 90th or 97th percentile across much of Nevada and Utah and the Arizona Strip, and even some areas up over eastern Idaho and Wyoming above the 90th percentile. Areas over the rest of Idaho and northern Nevada have been recovering and increasing, and will continue to do so over the next couple of days. Looking at some of our 100-hour fuel moistures in areas that we have large fires, they are definitely below normal for the time of year, and in areas over the southern tier of the Great Basin, including southeast Utah near Deer Creek, 100-hour fuel moistures are near record lows for the time of year. Looking at our satellite loop from this morning, no clouds to speak of, but we have plenty of smoke impacts, mostly from our fires across the basin and areas to our south. But you can see quite a bit of smoke over the southern tier and even over parts of western areas. So expect at least hazy or smoky conditions. And you can see those smoke forecasts for today and tomorrow, again, continuing over mainly the southern and western half of the Great Basin. Today, we'll continue with a ridge of high pressure dominating with hot and dry conditions. You can see a little bit of moisture available for possibly some cumulus buildups in parts of Nevada today, but expecting any lightning either to be zero or a very low across those areas. Again, mainly cumulus buildups, otherwise moderate fire potential region-wide. Today, winds will be on the light side, still generally out of the northwest, but still just light to moderate across the region, with single-digit relative humidity across much of the southern 2/3 of the Great Basin and relative humidity in the teens across Idaho and Wyoming. Temperatures today will be some of the hottest temperatures with highs near or over 100 degrees in many of the valleys over the western half of the Great Basin and over 110 down south. Again, you can see the thunderstorm potential, very minimal, if anything, a couple of pin drops that you could see in some of those areas where we had enough moisture for at least some buildups, but probably very low lightning potential. As we move into Monday, the trough starts to drop into the far northern Rockies, and we also have a weak trough kind of over western Wyoming. So we could see some northwest winds increase over parts of northeast Utah. So we do have a high risk for those gusty winds and dry conditions with critical fuels in those areas. Otherwise, moderate fire potential over the rest of the region. And you can see on the transport winds, those winds do pick up with northwest winds, kind of breezy across Idaho and Wyoming, but strongest over northeast Utah, where we'll see those gusts of 30 to 35 miles per hour. Further north, most of those gusts will be in the 20s, but could see some gusts around 30 miles per hour. You can see a couple of outflow winds that kind of are picked up that we may see some of those buildups in northern Nevada. Otherwise, relative humidity very similar to today. Temperatures, again, another hot day across the region with most areas in the upper 90s to over 100 degrees. You can see the thunderstorm potential. We do have some little hints of thunderstorms developing on Monday, so we could see a better chance of some isolated storms in northern Nevada, northwest Utah. Could even see some down over southeast Utah, just near or south of Deer Creek. So that will be something to watch going into Monday. The main threat from these storms, aside from lightning, would be the gusty outflow winds with the very dry conditions. Otherwise, could see a bit more showers with some of this lightning up into Idaho and Wyoming. But again, no major risk up there, maybe near the grassy fire. There could be some gusty outflow winds, but also a few showers. And you can see our fire potential does moderate a bit as that trough drops into Idaho. But again, I don't expect any significant changes even up north. But as the trough pushes further south, we will see those southwesterly winds increase over southern areas of the Great Basin. So we have a larger area of high risk for gusty winds and low relative humidity in the south. And you can see those transport winds will be a little bit stronger on Tuesday, mostly gusts around 35 miles per hour. Could see some gusts to 40 miles per hour as well. And then otherwise outflow winds you can see popping up across Nevada and Utah. Dry conditions, again, with single digit relative humidity, maybe a little bit higher humidity in the higher terrain with enough moisture with that trough to see some relative humidity in the teens, even down south in Utah. Otherwise, we'll see the relative humidity increase to above 20% in parts of central and eastern Idaho and western Wyoming. Temperatures will be knocked down, certainly in the north. We'll see more highs in the valleys in the low to mid 90s. We'll also see a little bit of cooling further south, so we won't see many of those above 100-degree temperatures on Tuesday, but still a very hot day with above normal temperatures. And you can see a much better chance for thunderstorm coverage in northern and eastern Nevada, across northern Utah. So we'll be monitoring both Monday and Tuesday for any of the potential of high risk for lightning, as many of these areas are definitely critical with fuels, very low fuel moisture, also have had recent hot and dry conditions in those areas. So again, we'll be watching that risk for lightning and gusty outflow winds. 3-day precipitation, again, any thunderstorms not expected to produce any widespread precipitation. As we go into the middle of the week, the trough in the northern Rockies starts to push east into the plains, but still affecting our area. Could see still some lightning over parts of Utah into eastern Nevada with lingering moisture. So again, we'll watch some of those areas as some of this lightning could be close to some of our large incidents in Utah. So we'll monitor that for any potential high risk. Otherwise, moderate fire risk continues except for the far north. Similar conditions on Thursday and going into Friday, just kind of lingering moisture in parts of that central area, but we will see some additional moisture coming up from the south for a better chance of thunderstorms with potential moisture over far southern areas. It doesn't look like a really heavy, wet event yet, but there could be a little bit more shower activity than any of the lightning we'll see earlier in the week. So we'll continue to watch that, but we could see some fire potential moderate in the far south, but still a lot of uncertainty with that moisture, how far north it will spread, and how significant it will be. So right now, expecting pretty low end changes in fire potential, but again, we'll continue to monitor that, especially going into later in the week. The 7-day total precipitation, so you can see that moisture coming up from the south, still a bit questionable as to how far some of that deeper moisture might extend north. So it may only be in the Arizona Strip. It may push a little bit further north, but we are certainly expecting an increase in lightning coverage, which will be problematic for any of our large incidents or new starts initially. The 8 to 14-day outlook, taking us from July 20th to the 26th, shows above normal temperatures and generally drier conditions, still showing any deeper moisture well to our south, so no big reprieve from our fire potential anytime soon. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back tomorrow for the latest updates.